We read in this week's Parsha, V'Yisrael ahavas Yosef mikol banav, kiven zekunim ulo, ve'asa lo ksonas pasim. What does this mean, kiven zekunim ulo? That he is a ben zekunim. Rashi has three interpretations. The second of the three interpretations is as follows. Says Rashi, kiven zekunim ulo, Bar chachim hule kol ma shalomad mishem ve'ever masarla. Zukunim comes from the word chacham, zakein, zakein being a chacham. The Yaakov Avinu taught Yosef the chachma of Shem and Ever. So says Rashi. And the question of Yaakov Kamenetzi asks is, why did Yaakov teach Yosef dafka, the Torah of Shem and Ever? After all, didn't Yaakov learn for many years by his grandfather, Avram Avinu, by his father, by Yitzchak? Why didn't he teach that Torah? And moreover, we're taught that Yaakov Avinu, after he ran away from Esav on his way to Haran, spent 14 years in the yeshiva Shem and Ever, learning Torah from yeshiva Shem and Ever, and learning their Torah. And that's also difficult after all. Why did he have to learn their Torah? Why couldn't he continue to learn his own Torah? The Torah of his Mesorah of Avram and Yitzchak. And lastly, why Yosef? Why Yosef? Why was Yosef selected as being the one of all of his sons that he taught the Torah of Shem and Ever? And the answer of Yaakov says, in a very famous and important piece, is that this Torah was not the regular Torah that everyone else was learning. This Torah was the Torah that a Yid, that a Jew needs to know in Galus. It's the Torah of the Galus, the Torah of the diaspora, the Torah of the exile. How to be a Jew in Galus. And that's why when Yaakov ran away from Eretz Yisrael, when he ran away from Esav and he was running to Galus, he spent 14 years learning how to be a Jew in Galus. And to prepare Yosef, who he knew was going to be on his own in Galus, Yaakov spent years teaching Yosef, yes, Yosef, the Torah of Shem and Ever, not the Torah of Avram Yitzchak, the Torah of the Galus, the Torah of Shem and Ever. What was that Torah? What is the Torah of the Galus? I'd like to suggest, based on a Sfas Emes, the following idea. We learned at the beginning of Shemos that Yaakov went to Mitzrayim, Ish ubeso ba'u. Ish ubeso ba'u. Says the Sfas Emes, when he went down to Mitzrayim, he didn't go alone. He went Ish ubeso ba'u. Says the Sfas thing when a Jew goes down to Galus is to remember that he shouldn't be on his own. Ish ubeso, to be part of a family, part of a community, part of a chevra. Ish ubeso ba'u. That's what Yaakov Avinu did. Ish ubeso ba'u. And in fact, we learn in the Tehillim, B'tzeis Yisrael Mitzrayim, Beis Yaakov me'am lo'ez. It was the Beis Yaakov that succeeded in leaving me'am lo'ez as a bias, as a family, as a mishpacha, as a family unit, as a chavra, as Am Yisrael together. That's how they succeeded in Galus. And that's what Yaakov did when he went down to Haran. When he went up to Haran, he built a bias. He built a home. More than any other of, he built a home. A home which is safe from the outside world, which protects from the outside world. That was Yaakov. We read in Yeshaya, Beis Yaakov l'chu v'nelcha be'or Hashem, the house of Jacob. Let's go be'or Hashem, the light of God. It was the bias of Yaakov. And in fact, the Gemara in Shabbos teaches that as opposed to all the avos that referred to the Makam HaMikdash as either Har or Sadeh, Yaakov refers to it as Beit El, as a bias. As a bias. For Yaakov Avinu, it was all about the bias, all about the home, all about the family, all about the chevra, all about Am Yisrael together, engaging society, but being protected and insulated by their chevra and family together. the bias, the home. And in fact, the one time we find that Yaakov Avinu left his home, Vayivasar Yaakov Levado, we read, Vayivasar Yaakov Levado. What happened? When he was all alone, when he was away from his family, that was when Sarah Shalesim attacked and was somewhat successful. He was all alone. He was no longer in that support system with his bias. Vayivasar Yaakov Levado. He was all alone. And that, the Sfas Emes says, is the Yesod of Chanukah. Says the Sfas Emes, the language of Ish Ubeso that we find in the Chumash can also be found in Masechah Shabbos in the Sugya of Chanukah, where we're taught in a very famous statement that Chanukah, the mitzvah of Chanukah is Ner Ish Ubeso. Ner Ish Ubeso, says the Sfas Emes. How does one, in Galus, in Chanukah, surrounded by Yevanim, surrounded by Hellenists, how does one fight off all those outside influences? Ish Ubesa. It's a man, his bias, his family, his chavra, in a Jewish environment, engaging society. That's how we succeed as Jews. Ish Ubesa. Ner Ish Ubesa. Says the Megala Amukos, unbelievable idea, that when Yaakov was going back to find that Pachim Ketanim, that Pach Katan is a remez to the Pach Katan of Chanukah. That Pach Katan, that small jar, says the Megala Amukos, is a remez to the Pach Katan of the Shemen, for the Chanukiah, for the menorah. And that makes sense, because when Yaakov was ready to go and engage Esav, his brother, he wasn't sure it was going to attack him or influence him. He needed the Pach Katan. He needed the Or of Chanukah. Ner Ishu Besa. And Kedushas Levi explains that at the end of the Parsha it says, Vayiven lo bias. Vayiven lo bias. In Perek Lamed Gimel, Pasuk Yud Zayin. Vayiven lo bias. Yaakov built a bias. The bias. Says the Kedushas Levi, an unbelievable thing. Vayiven lo, Lamed Vav, 36, bias. The Yaakov Avinu built the 36 candles of Chanukah that we light over the 8 days. Those 36 candles, Yaakov Avinu made sure that he had for his bias. For his bias. Because he knew that when traveling, when engaging, when being surrounded by a non-Jewish culture, one must have with him a bias. One must light up the bias with the Or of Chanukah. And as all of us consider and think about how we're going to engage society, how important it is to learn the lesson of Yaakov Avinu, the lesson of the bias, the lesson of the Ner Ishu Besa, not to go at it alone, to be part of the Chavra, of the family, of larger Am Yisrael. And in that way we can succeed. Shall be Zocha, as we go through Chanukah, to remember these lessons of the bias, remember these lessons that will help you and all of us succeed in the Galus, Emet Hashem. Have a great Shabbos.